Hey guys, welcome back to the checkers game tutorial. Last time I said that we're going to be playing in the engine a little bit, just creating some scenes, but we don't do that today actually. We finished the basic server and basic client communication. Now we have a flow going on, but we can't really test it because we have not implemented it in the game just yet. But that's what we do. We finish the client script, we finish the server script, and without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so I've decided to actually finish writing down the server and the client before making the other scene. And that's just for clarity purpose, so sorry about that if I misled you with the last video. But we're gonna go back to actually just writing an actual client. But something I'd like to do just before that is I'd like to just try to explain the server a little bit, just to make sure everything is clear in your head. So basically what we have here is a server that is listening every single frame for messages. So basically the server is now able to read messages, and when he receives messages we call on incoming data. So that's cool, but we're missing three things actually to make this work. We're missing a way to send messages as the server, and then we're missing a way to actually send and receive from the client. So right now the only thing we have is receive for the server. Really quickly, just up here, I am going to write a function that is going to send to the client. We're going to call this broadcast, just like we did in the chat tutorial. We're going to broadcast a string, so that's going to be our data, and then we're going to broadcast it to a list of server client. So just a list of server client. That we'll call CL. Now all we really have to do in here is just grab the socket of every single one of those and just write something on it. So for each server client, SC in this case, in the list, so CL, for each server client in our list, we're going to try and write something. If the client is not reachable, we don't really have to do anything because the disconnect list is going to take care of that. So, I'm just going to write something like write error and just type that message like this. Now when we want to write something under stream, we have to grab it first. So let's do a stream writer. We're going to declare it really quickly. Writer is equal to a new stream writer, and we get the stream. So sc dot tcp and then get stream. We now have the actual stream that is on the socket. Now, just after that, we're going to do a write line. We're writing the data we've got, and we're going to flush it then. And that's pretty much all we have to do. Okay, so at this point, this makes a little bit more sense. This is send from server, and this would be the read from server. Now, the from server, it's a little bit weird here. I'll just call this server read and server send. So those are really the two big functions that are what makes this an actual server. Okay, so we've talked enough about the server. Let's go ahead and just start writing down our client. So this is going to be client. Now we open it up inside of MonoDevelop. Just get rid of everything like we always do. We are going to start by having some kind of interface, some kind of definition for what is a game client. So just like we did for the server, we're going to declare a class, and this is going to be a game client. Now a game client is going to have, say, a name, public string name, and depending on your game here, there could be a lot of stuff. So public bool is host in my case. You could have like a public bool player ID, public color, what color is he using, stuff like that. A lot of stuff can be put in the game client. That is really your client side definition of everybody. We need to declare a few things at the very top, starting with a socket ready, which is going to act just like the server start, or like any kind of boolean to know if we're ready to go. A private TCP client. This is going to be the socket itself, and this is in, what is this in actually? I think this is in system.net.socket. Here it is. And then we're going to be using streams, so private network stream, private stream writer. This is in IO, so system.io. For some reason I can't do the control dot anymore. I just don't know why. So we'll just go up here and write it manually. So system.io. Here we go. This is going to be our writer. And next one, stream reader, which is obviously going to be our reader. Nice. So once we have all of this information, we need the entry point. And what I mean by this is we need a moment where we just decide to connect now, because client should be there for the whole duration of the game, whether you're connected or not. We should have a function to actually decide that. So public bool connect to server. We're connecting to a certain host, and also int that is going to be the port. So in my case, since I'm hosting this locally, I'm going to be using a localhost on port 6321, I believe. Whichever one is, you know, the one we've put in server. Okay, so let's start with something simple. If the socket is ready, we're going to return, because we don't want to connect twice. So just assume that for some reason this function is being called twice for some like weird reason in our code. Then we don't want to actually retry connecting to something we're already connected to. Okay, so once this is done, we are going to try and just create our socket. So socket is equal to new TCP client. We're going to be using the port overload, which is a host and also a port. Well, I mean a string and an int, but we use it for the host and also the port. Then we're going to create all our other objects. So all our stream is equal to socket.getStream. That's the network stream. That's the one you actually communicate on. And then we're going to create a new writer on that stream and a new reader on that stream, just like this. At this point, our socket should be ready, and we're going to say socket ready is equal to true. Now assume that this does not work. We are going to report the exception in the catch section here. So debug.log, and we're going to say socket error, and let's write down that message. So e.message, just like that. And that should be pretty much it for the connect to server. Actually, let me quickly just close Visual Studio. For some reason I've lost my IntelliSense, and it's actually quite hard to type without IntelliSense. So let's get it back. Exception here has an error because I'm probably not using system. Let's do that. So using system, and now my exception works. What else does not work? So return. Okay, so here's the return false, and else we gotta be doing a return true at the end. Well, actually we're gonna do a return socket ready. All right. So now we have our function to connect, and we actually get a boolean that says we were able to connect or we were not able to connect. Okay, so at this point we're able to just connect. Now what we said we needed was a way to actually send messages and also to read messages from the server. So let's start with the easiest one. The easiest one is to read messages from the server, and we're going to do it the same exact way as we've done it before. So private void on incoming data, and this time we don't want to get a server client, we only want to get the data. The reason is quite simple. Only one person can send you a message, so you don't really need to, you don't really need a definition of who is the person that sends you a message. The only person that can communicate with your client is the server itself. Even if it's like the player 1 sending a message to player 2, it still goes through the server, and there's like no direct communication in between those two. It really goes through the server and then goes to the targeted player. So right now we're not going to do anything here. It's just like we're gonna get the data. That's fine. Well, we could do a debug.log and just type that data down, but that's really all we have to do right now. So that's the easy one. That would be the read messages. Now let's actually try sending messages to the server, and that would be a public void send, and we send a string of data. If I can type this morning, this is really a rough morning. Sorry about my voice, guys. Might be getting cold. So we're gonna send if the socket is not ready, let's not try to send something over the network if we're not, if we're not connected. That's not going to work. But all we really have to do is grab the stream and write on it. Now, we don't necessarily need to grab this value here, the stream itself, because we know that the writer is actually on that stream. So all we have to say really is just writer.writeLine. And we're writing data. After that we flush and we are pretty much good to go already. So that's all you have to do at this point. You can send and you can also receive. However, nobody's really, like, the receive part is never really going to work because we're not constantly checking for messages, which is what we are going to do now. So we're going to be using an update for that, just like we did for the server. So private void update. And inside of our update, this is where we're going to be checking every single frame. Do we have a message? Simple as that. And we don't have to do it for every client. I mean, we have to do it for every client, but we don't have to do like any for loop in here because this is only one client. So if the socket is ready, if we're connected, then if there is data available, so stream.data available, it's the exact same call as we've done on the server, guys. So hopefully you can start to just place things a little bit. It's not that complicated once you understand this basic flow. So we get our data. Data is on the stream itself, so reader.readLine. And if data is not equal to null, that means there is data to actually process. So we're going to do on incoming data and send that data. Cool, so that's really all we have to do in the client itself. A little bit later on, when we actually start just processing that data here, we're going to create some more functions, such as user is connected, or some game related stuff is going to be put in here eventually. But now with this, we have some basic communication going, and that's pretty much all we need actually. There is one more thing that I'd like to do, just to make sure, like, if we crash or if there's a disconnection, that we don't get stuck on the port. We don't just leave that socket open. So quickly write down a close socket function, and we're gonna say if socket is not ready, return, and if it is ready, that means we have to close stuff. So writer.close, reader.close, socket.close, and finally let's just reverse the socket ready to false. And this is going to be called, we should be calling this when we quit the application. So private void on application quit. This is going to work because we're on mono behavior, if you remember. So we're going to call close socket. And we're also going to do it if we disable the object. So private void on disable, written like that. And if we disable, just close the socket. Okay, so those are just to make sure we don't leave anything open, so we can just play the game again and nothing's going to be really stuck there. So guys, that is going to be pretty much it for the server and the client. Like I said, we're going to be adding a little bit more function to this as the game progresses, so as we actually need them. But this is a basic flow of communication, and I hope you guys understand a little bit what's going on. I really hope you do, because it's a whole new way of programming a little bit, and it's really interesting once you get to know how it works. So we're also going to be testing this out in the next episode, and I'm not lying here, we're actually going to do it in the next one. I just wanted to do the basic communication first. So guys, again, thanks a lot for watching. Thanks a lot for just leaving a like, really helps out a lot. And a big thanks to those of you who left me a dime on Patreon. I really appreciate that, and hopefully we can just grow that number, so eventually we do that full time. Good times. Anyway guys, I will see you in the next one.